Hello everyone, this is CyberEric with another gameplay overview and impressions. This is for Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Basically, we're gonna go over the gameplay aspects, how the action, how the game works. Real quick here, I kind of want to start with showing real quick the controls. You can pause this if you want to see them. But for the most part, I just like to kind of show them off so that you can actually kind of see what the controls are. So when you see the gameplay, you can have an idea of what it works like. And as I start, I want to remind everybody to please like and subscribe. It helps the channel. All right, so Wuchang Fallen Feathers. This is basically the introduction. This game is actually developed by Lency and published by 505 Games. It is currently available on PC, I think PlayStation, and Xbox. And I'm getting it through Xbox Game Pass subscription. So that helps. It's also available for $49.99, which is actually lower price than the current $70 that most games are. So yeah, so when the game starts, basically you're gonna be running around, movement, 3D platform, not platformer, but 3D action game. It's a Souls-like, right? A Dark Souls-like game. Very, very popular in today's gaming environment. You're gonna have some of the movement here. You're gonna obviously find the items on the ground. Very similar to Dark Souls. If you played any sort of similar Dark Souls games, Elden Ring, you'll be right at home. So real quick on the combat, and again, if you already played Dark Souls games, most of this video might just basically jump over your head, but for the most part, that's why I kind of try to explain what the game feels like and any sudden differences. So obviously, you attack basically with the right button, at least on the Xbox controller. You can have light and heavy attacks. And you're basically running around, enemies will drop items, you manage your items. It's an action RPG, and you see them a lot today in this style of the Dark Souls formula. The next main thing, obviously, if it's a Dark Souls, it has to have bonfires, or in this case, shrines. So in the shrines here, you basically have to do this like little blood animation to kind of unlock them. And in shrines, you basically get to reset the world, reset the enemies, get your items back, etc., etc. So here, when it's called basically entering the dream, which is also used to advance the story, and that's basically because whenever you hit a shrine, you don't immediately reset the world. You need to actually enter the dream to reset the world. That also moves forward some of the story things, and also lets you reset enemies, but also get your items back, like your potions for the most part. Another thing here, Shimmer. Shimmer is basically your dodging, and also where you can actually get a stack of what they call Skyborn Might. Skyborn Might is going to basically be your currency for combat. So here I'm trying to kind of test it out. This is the first time doing it, by the way, so this is like real time trying it out. So that's a Shimmer, as you saw on the screen there. So that's basically what it gives you. It gives you a feather. If you look at the bottom left side of the screen, there's like a little humanoid icon with a feather. That basically means that I got a feather or Skyward Might. Skyward Might is basically what you use to activate different abilities for your weapons or your spells, and we'll go over that a little bit more in detail. This is the introductory boss where I'm basically practicing the Shimmer ability here. There's one Shimmer right there, or I don't know, it might not be on regular dodge, but that's literally me trying it out, etc., etc. But you'll actually notice it when I kind of do them, and you get the Shimmer. And again, this is one of those bosses that's just they expect you to go down. So there's a Shimmer right there where I actually got the a point, and I basically get to use it in terms of currency. Right now, this is just a tutorial, so this is basically just they're drawing you a boss out here so you can practice dodging like crazy. You see also that the right side of the character is glowing green. That means that I have a Skyborn Might. Does not roll off the tongue, but it's a very cool mechanic once you get used to it. And it's basically, that's how you basically get things for different activities. So again, tutorial boss, you're supposed to die. So what happens after you die, etc., etc. I'll go over that here in a second, because the game, I'm still trying to basically show the different introductions. So for here, we're gonna show that basically when you die, you're basically gonna get something called madness. And here's the tutorial for it. And if you play the game, you'll get this. I'm just trying to kind of go over it. What you're gonna drop your red Mercury, which is your currency. I'll go over that later because it's part of the leveling mechanic. But it's also gonna get something called madness. So madness is basically an affliction that builds upon the character whenever you kill humanoid enemies, so you become more mad, or whenever you die. The more madness you have, however, the more damage you're able to do, right? So, and I will go over those mechanics later. So here's, again, still in the tutorial of the game, I'm getting new weapons. And here, for example, I have now an axe. And the weapons, basically, think of them like classes. You don't pick a class in this action RPG, you pick different weapons, and different weapons will let you basically control the character differently, and they'll do combat. And there's a lot of good videos out there for what different weapons are and what they mean. I would suggest looking at those and experimenting. Another thing we want to kind of talk about real quick is basically graphics. I kind of wanted to kind of add this in here because I actually found this very like a pretty environment, pretty nice area, particularly at the tutorial. The graphics, and you see here, very green lust area. They're very good for this type of game, particularly. And you'll see a lot of different environments in the game. I'm only showing the initial areas of the game. I'm not going to show any late game stuff. I'm actually not there yet anyway. But here's another tutorial for dodging that you've already seen before. You can also deflect and block weapons or attacks, right, with different weapons. And again, these are part of where if you're using a heavy weapon, you probably want to do more blocking. If you want to use a fast weapon, you can basically dodge. And there's also obviously items you can equip, pendants, etc., etc. Again, action RPG, you basically get an item, you want to equip it. So level design. Level design, you're gonna basically see a lot of verticality. It's very reminiscent of Dark Souls 1, if you actually know what that means, which is like the game builds upon itself, and actually in a very, very nice way. There's a lot of shortcuts, a lot of moving around, a lot of platforming where it's like, ooh, that area looks interesting. You will probably get there eventually. So here I am, just basically running around the beginning of the game. Fighting some early enemies. If you actually see here on the ground there, that glowing blue dot, that is my red Mercury / currency where I had to pick it up because I died here, right? But that's basically how you learn, right? Basic combat. And then I pick up my currency that I died, or my souls, if you will. Again, I have the mindset of a Dark Souls player. So if you hear me using Bonfire and Souls, that's basically the mindset of it. So quick running around again, basically the same area. You'll find another shrine. You get to rest, get your potions back, etc., etc., and you move forward, and so on and so on. So one of the things you can do in shrines, of course, is refine red Mercury, which basically means leveling up. So basically, when you refine red Mercury, when you get a certain amount of red Mercury, you can refine it. You get what they call, I forgot what it's called here. You can also teleport, by the way, but you can basically have like a character building classes here. Here you go. It's called the Impetus Repository. And you're basically going to be selecting different effects, skills for your weapons, or your potions, etc., etc. And there's basically 5 weapons. It's actually pretty simple. The best thing about the system, you can reset it freely at any time. So at any point, you can want to switch from the axe to the sword or whatever, dual blades or whatever. You can just immediately reset, get all your points back, and spend them on the other weapon. Another thing that the game shows you real early on is spells or magic. So you're basically gonna get this spell fairly quick in the game, and you're basically gonna learn how to use spells by basically getting that Skyborn Might currency that you see here. So for example, I have this enemy here, and I still didn't know how to use magic here. So I'm basically attacking him, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should follow the instructions. So I lock onto this guy. Once you press the Y button here I am casting a spell. And again, and my build for the most part, I love using spell in games like this, so I basically went with that. It's a little tough in some bosses, but for the most part, it is an interesting gameplay style. Here I am casting the spell once again. All right, so again, taking a potion here, a very simple stuff. Here I am with the first mini boss again. You can consider this a spoiler, but this is between the first 20 minutes or so in the game. It's basically a boss to kind of show you like a tutorial of things that go on. So yeah, bosses, they can be difficult up and down. For most difficult in the high difficulty side, in my opinion. I think they're gonna be nerfing some of the mechanics here in this game in the coming weeks. But for the most part, this is showing you that basically if you have a heavy weapon, you can basically stun bosses or some enemies, and you can basically do one of these like critical attacks, right? And you can just charge your heavy weapon, and basically I'm gonna stun him, this boss here, until it basically goes down. So again, pretty simple to do, but it's again tutorial boss. But this is the first mini boss, and you shouldn't have no problem. You unlock things after you defeat this particular maid boss. So again, benedictions is basically what you unlock, which is basically ways to upgrade your weapons. And you will learn about the different stats, etc., etc. But that's basically the gameplay overview that I wanted to present. I don't want to go into any more detail on the higher level things for this game, because it's basically for you to kind of figure it out. But that's a good overview. So impressions. The game does feel pretty fast and fluid, but it can, and you're gonna get punished if you're spamming attack buttons like any Souls-like. You're going to get punished. It's plain and simple. It's a very well-made Souls-like, in my opinion. I fairly enjoy it for the most part from what I'm playing, but it has its ups and downs, and I'll go over those things in a quick second here. The game looks pretty good. Again, I'm running it here on Xbox Series X. I also played it on PC. It has some stuttering on PC. You'll probably read about it more online, and probably the developer will patch that here. But again, this is a more later middle of the game boss fight, where I'm actually using different spells, right? I'm using I'm being corrupted, which is kind of like a debuff of some kind that I lose health, etc., etc. And I'm just kind of showing you some later-ish gameplay. But I mean, I'm not gonna finish this here. This is a little bit more towards the middle of the game. Running around here in the different areas. And there's traps here where I just triggered that. If it actually does something, I think I already triggered it before, so that's why I didn't activate it. But just FYI, you get to run around, etc., etc. I'll mention there are some balancing issues that I noticed from playing a lot of Souls-like. So I played all kinds of things like Lies of Peace and Amazing Souls-like, for example. And this game, it's great, but it has some issues, particularly with, in my opinion, the balancing overall. Some of the boss fights can actually feel a little bit disappointing in terms of like they'll constantly be attacking. They don't let you kind of rest. And the mechanic where you actually are falling down, the animation, it just feels kind of unfair, where the enemies are basically high aggression. You're very slow to heal. Your healing is actually very slow, which kind of feels bad because the bosses particularly are just attacking you not left and right, left and right. There's almost no gaps to heal sometimes. So again, I'm just here basically taking down these enemies with some quick attacks, so you can kind of see some of the later game mechanics, etc., how it plays. But again, that's something where I think potentially like faster healing speed. Plus, we're working some of the knocked down states. So when you're knocked down, sometimes you can get hit. And it's kind of hard to even tell. Sometimes I would die and I'm like, wait, was I even hit or something? And I'm just like, oh yeah, apparently the enemy hit me like 2 or 3 times while I was standing up or something, and I didn't notice. And that kind of gets annoying, right? And particularly for a Souls-like where you're looking for precision. But again, I think it's something that can be improved upon. For the most part, it's what it is. And those are most of my high-level feedback and comments again. The game is fun. It is available on Xbox Game Pass. And what else? This is practically one of the bosses that people are calling online, basically a skill test, where you actually need to really learn how to parry. I'm still working on this Commander Hongland. But for the most part, those are basically my quick impressions. Again, it's a fun game, great level design, fun combat. Takes some time to getting used to, but for the most part, I'm liking the game. I think it's just solidly a very good game. If I had to give it a score, it would be like a 7 out of 10. That's basically how I think about it. Good system and mechanics, but that's basically it. That's it for this video. So I appreciate if you would like and subscribe to this video. And thanks for watching, and have a good one, everyone.